In a quiet winter night of 1473, a child was born who would change the universe forever. His name, Nicholas Copernicus, born in the Polish city of Turin. No one could imagine that this silent boy would one day shake the foundations of science. His father was a respected merchant, but tragedy struck early. Nicholas lost his father as a child. He was raised by his uncle, a powerful bishop. His uncle saw promise in him. He sent him to the best schools. Copernicus studied in Krakow, then Bologna, then Padua. He studied astronomy, law, medicine, and mathematics, and mastered Latin, the language of science. But Copernicus was not like other students. He questioned everything. Why does the sun move across the sky? Is Earth really the center of everything? These questions haunted him. At night, he would stare at the stars, observing their silent dance, wondering about their secrets. The official belief said, the Earth is at the center. The stars and sun revolve around it. This was the Ptolemaic system, a model 1,500 years old, accepted by the church and scholars, but something didn't feel right. The planets moved strangely, sometimes forward, then backward. The stars didn't match the math. Copernicus began to take notes. He compared ancient texts. From Greeks to Arab scholars, he measured the sky himself, night after night, year after year, quietly, patiently, not seeking fame, but truth. And he didn't speak much about his theories. He feared criticism. The church could be ruthless. Daring to question the cosmos was dangerous, but he couldn't stop. His passion grew. The stars whispered to him, and he listened. He wrote notes in secret, diagrams, equations, observations. A silent revolution was starting. He believed the earth moved, that the sun was the true center. A radical thought, one that could end his career, or worse. But he wrote it down quietly, without telling many, as if planting a seed for the future. He returned to Poland. He lived a quiet life, working as a church official, healing the sick as a physician, advising on economic reform. Yet his mind was always in the stars. He continued his sky watching, every night more confident. The earth, he thought, is not still, it rotates. It orbits the sun. The stars don't move, we do. The center is not earth, it is the sun. And we humans are not at the center of creation. A beautiful, terrifying idea. He worked for years. Decades passed. He grew old. His notes piled up. He knew his time was running short, but he hesitated to publish. Would the world understand? Would they attack him or ignore him? His friends encouraged him, especially Bishop Gysi. Publish it, they said. Your truth matters. He finally agreed, but the manuscript was delayed, sent to the printers late. It reached him on his deathbed. He saw it just before dying. The revolution he started was now unstoppable. On his deathbed, Copernicus finally received the first printed copy of his life's work. The book was titled De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium, on the revolutions of the celestial spheres. It was the result of over 30 years of silent observation, calculation, and courage. The book opened with a modest dedication to Pope Paul III. Copernicus hoped to soften the shock of what he had written. Inside, he described a universe where the Earth was no longer the center. He wrote that the sun, not Earth, was at the center of the universe, and that the planets, including Earth, orbited around it. This shattered the model that had ruled science for 1,500 years. The Ptolemaic system was elegant, but flawed. Copernicus offered a new system that was mathematically simpler and more consistent. It explained retrograde motion without strange loops or epicycles. His model gave astronomy a new structure, but it also had deep philosophical implications. If Earth is not the center, then perhaps humanity is not so special. This idea was revolutionary and dangerous. Many church leaders were not ready to accept it. Some viewed the heliocentric model as heresy, but at first the reaction was quiet. The book was dense and written in Latin. Only a few scholars read and understood it, and among them, opinions were divided. Some praised the beauty of Copernicus's logic. Others dismissed it as mere mathematical speculation. But a storm was brewing. Over the next decades, others would pick up where Copernicus left off. Among them, Tycho Brahe, Johannes Kepler, and Galileo Galilei. These scientists would test, refine, and defend the heliocentric model. Tycho collected vast amounts of accurate astronomical data. Kepler used Tycho's data to prove that planets moved in ellipses, not circles. And Galileo used the newly invented telescope to observe the heavens. He saw moons orbiting Jupiter, proof that not all objects revolved around Earth. Slowly, the Copernican model gained support, but not without resistance. Galileo was tried by the Inquisition. He was forced to recant his support for heliocentrism, yet the truth continued to spread. Copernicus' book had planted the seed. A scientific revolution had begun. Copernicus did not live to see its impact, but his work inspired generations. In his time, he was a quiet scholar, a church official who watched the stars. But history remembers him as a giant, a man who moved the earth by moving the mind. His book was placed on the index of forbidden books, yet copies kept circulating in secret. Scholars across Europe debated its ideas, and young minds began to dream bigger. The sky was no longer a fixed dome. It was a vast universe full of motion. The sun was a star, not a god. Earth was a planet, not a pedestal. And humans were observers, not the center. This shift changed not only science but philosophy, art, and religion. The scientific revolution had begun. Copernicus had no idea what he had started. His name became a symbol of courage and thought, to question the obvious, to challenge the authorities, to look up and think freely. Today we take for granted that the Earth orbits the sun, but 500 years ago, this was unthinkable. Copernicus stood alone in his belief, and now the world follows his vision. The telescope was not his invention, but his ideas gave purpose to its use. Astronomy became more than myth, it became science, and Copernicus became its quiet father. His revolution was not loud. There were no battles, no crowds, just books, stars, and silence, but the effects echoed through centuries. His model set the stage for Newton, and Newton for Einstein. Every modern space mission traces its roots to Copernicus. From the moon landing to the James Webb telescope, we explore the universe because one man dared to rethink it. Because Copernicus said, let's try another way. The stars remained the same, but our minds moved. The church later accepted his model. Centuries later, science had won, and humanity had grown. Today, schools teach the heliocentric model as fact, but behind that fact is a man who hesitated, feared, yet believed, who published only at the end of his life, and yet started something eternal. His book remains one of the most important in human history. Few have read it, but everyone lives by it, because the earth moves, and because minds can too. Copernicus didn't ask for fame, he didn't seek glory, but he gave us a gift, a new way to see our place in the cosmos. Subscribe now for more stories of those who changed history, one idea at a time. The death of Copernicus marked not the end, but the beginning. Though his voice fell silent, his ideas began to echo louder. Across Europe, a few brave minds picked up his legacy. Among the first, a Danish astronomer named Tycho Brahe. Tycho didn't fully accept the Copernican system. He proposed his own hybrid model, but more importantly, he gathered data, lots of it. Years of meticulous observations of planets and stars. Without telescopes, Tycho's data was astonishingly accurate, and his student Johannes Kepler would use it to prove a revolution. Kepler believed Copernicus was on the right track, but there was a flaw. The orbits weren't perfect circles. That assumption, inherited from Greek philosophy, was wrong. Kepler corrected it. Planets, he found, moved in elliptical orbits, not circles. This solved many of the errors in previous models. His 3 laws of planetary motion refined the Copernican model. But it was still incomplete. It lacked observational confirmation. Enter Galileo Galilei. With his telescope, Galileo looked deeper into the sky than ever before. He saw mountains on the moon, proof it wasn't a perfect sphere. He saw spots on the sun, signs of imperfection in the heavens. Most shocking of all, he saw 4 moons orbiting Jupiter. Not everything orbited Earth. The Copernican model gained its first visual evidence. Galileo became a vocal supporter, and with his passion came conflict. The church still held to the geocentric view. Galileo's writings stirred controversy. He was summoned by the Inquisition. In 1633, he was forced to recant. Under threat of torture, he denied the motion of Earth. But legend says he whispered, "Eppur si muove," and yet it moves. Despite persecution, the truth was out. The Copernican revolution was alive. Scholars, philosophers, and scientists were listening, and one man would tie it all together: Isaac Newton. A century after Copernicus, Newton provided the missing link. Using Kepler's laws and Galileo's data, he formulated the laws of motion. His law of universal gravitation explained why planets orbit the sun. Gravity made sense of Copernicus's vision. The Earth moved, not because of magic, but because of force. Newton's work built directly on the Copernican model. It validated and solidified heliocentrism. The universe became a vast, lawful machine, and Copernicus was its quiet architect. Generations of scientists followed this path. Each discovery traced back to one decision: to question the idea that Earth is the center, to look up and doubt. That courage sparked the Enlightenment, and ultimately the modern world. Without Copernicus, there would be no Kepler, no Galileo, no Newton, and no space age. Copernicus gave us a cosmic perspective. He dethroned Earth, but elevated humanity. Because to remove ourselves from the center is to better understand where we truly stand. We are small, yes, but capable of understanding greatness. From stardust, we learn the stars. The revolution continues even now. We name craters and asteroids after Copernicus. His name has traveled further than he ever dreamed, from Poland to the moon and beyond. Telescopes now peer billions of light years away. Robots land on planets he never knew existed, and yet his core idea remains the same. The universe is vast, and we are explorers. The legacy of Copernicus is not just in books. It lives in the curiosity of every scientist, in every question asked, in every what if whispered under the stars. He taught us that truth is worth waiting for, even if it takes centuries, even if the world resists, even if the truth is buried in silence. The stars do not lie, and neither does reason. Copernicus trusted both, and by doing so, he gave us science. Today we honor that journey by continuing to ask, to challenge, to look deeper, and to know. The revolution he started is not over. It moves with every discovery, every telescope, and every launch, every question. Because knowledge is a journey, and we are just beginning. Copernicus showed us the way. Let us follow the stars, not out of arrogance, but of awe. If this inspired you, subscribe now for more deep stories of great minds. Your journey through space and history starts here with us. For many years, Copernicus remained silent about his findings. He feared backlash from the church and academic world. After all, challenging Earth's central position was heresy. But Copernicus was also cautious by nature. He continued his observations quietly in Fromborg. There, in a remote cathedral tower, he watched the stars. He studied ancient Greek texts and Arabic astronomical charts. He compared planetary paths night after night. The patterns were undeniable. The planets revolved around the sun. He recorded everything in a secret manuscript. He called his theory the heliocentric model. Heliocentric means sun-centered. Earth was no longer the center of the universe. This idea was radical, dangerous, and brilliant. But Copernicus delayed publication. Why? Some say it was fear. Others say he was a perfectionist. Perhaps it was both. He shared his model with a few close friends. One of them was Georg Joachim Rheticus. Rheticus was a young mathematician. He believed in Copernicus's ideas. In fact, Rheticus helped convince him to publish. Copernicus finally agreed reluctantly. His book was titled De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium. That means on the revolutions of the heavenly spheres. The book challenged 1,500 years of thinking. It was printed in 1543, but Copernicus never saw it in full. The first copy reached him on his deathbed. He died the same day. A quiet ending for a loud revolution. But the impact of his book would echo for centuries. It became the seed of the scientific revolution. Galileo would build on it. So would Kepler, Newton, and Einstein. Copernicus had lit the fire. The age of modern astronomy had begun. But the church didn't take notice at first. Why? The book was filled with math. Few people could understand it. It was published with a strange preface. The preface said the theory was just a hypothesis. Historians now believe that was added without his approval, perhaps to protect him. or to avoid church anger. But eventually the book drew attention and controversy. Some praised it as genius, others condemned it as blasphemy, but no one could ignore it. The earth was no longer special. We were not the center of creation. The universe was bigger than anyone imagined, and Copernicus had shown the way. He didn't seek fame. He didn't want glory. He wanted truth. His revolution was not shouted, it was whispered, but it changed the world. We still feel its effects today. Every satellite, every space mission, every physics equation. It all began with Copernicus and a quiet question. What if the earth is not the center? That question broke the universe open and rebuilt it piece by piece. So we remember him not just as a scientist, but as a rebel, a thinker, a silent revolutionary, the man who moved the sun and stopped the world. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe. Support us so we can make more content like this. Let us know in the comments, which scientists should we cover next? Einstein, Galileo, Marie Curie? Your ideas inspire us, and your support helps us grow. We're just getting started. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay inspired, stay with us. This is the journey of knowledge, and you're part of it. Subscribe now and join our mission. We believe science is for everyone, and history belongs to all of us. See you in the next episode. Until then, keep looking up. The stars are waiting. The year is 1543. Copernicus has just died. His book is now out in the world, but few people understand it. At first, the church doesn't react. The book seems too technical, too complex, too mathematical. Most priests can't read it. Most scholars ignore it. But that's about to change. A few scientists start reading it. Some are shocked. Others are excited. They begin testing the heliocentric model, and they find it works. It explains the planets better than Ptolemy's model. The tides, eclipses, retrograde motion, all make sense. Copernicus was right. Word spread slowly across Europe, in universities and private lectures, in hidden circles. But the church begins to take notice. A sun-centered universe challenges theology. If Earth isn't central, what else might be false? What about scripture? What about divine order? Church leaders feel threatened. They start to push back, quietly at first, but louder with time. The conflict intensifies with Galileo, but Copernicus started the spark. His ideas were now unstoppable. People began to question everything. Was the earth really created in 6 days? Was the Bible meant to be taken literally? Faith and science were entering a new battle. The book De Revolutionibus was added to the church's index of forbidden books. That happened in 1616, nearly 70 years after Copernicus's death. The church declared the heliocentric theory is false and contrary to scripture. But by then, it was too late. The truth had escaped, and minds were opening. A revolution was brewing. The age of reason was coming. Scientists across Europe joined in. Kepler refined the model. Galileo proved it with his telescope. Newton gave it gravity, but Copernicus gave it birth, and that made him dangerous. Even in death, his bones rested quietly in Frombork, but his ideas shook the heavens. He had changed humanity's place in the cosmos. We were no longer at the center. We were adrift in a vast universe, and that was terrifying and beautiful. He opened our eyes. He taught us to doubt, to observe, to think for ourselves, and to wonder. The church eventually softened. By the 1800s, his book was removed from the index, and the heliocentric model was accepted, not as heresy, but as fact. Today, Copernicus is celebrated. Statues rise in his name. Observatories bear his title. He is called the father of modern astronomy, and rightly so, all because he asked a question, a dangerous question. What if the earth is not the center? That question changed the world. It still echoes today, in classrooms, in labs, in space stations. We live in his legacy. We explore because of him. We dream because of him. So when you look at the stars, remember the man who moved the sun and stopped the world. If this inspired you, please like and subscribe. Help us grow our educational channel. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Who should we feature next? More scientists, more history? Let us know. Thank you for watching, and stay curious. The death of Copernicus, we all are. Copernicus helped us find our place. And it turns out, our place is not the center. But that's okay, because we now know how to search for truth. And that search never ends. Subscribe to our channel to explore more stories like this, and let's keep wondering together.